Welcome to the objective review of the latest Disney movie, A Wrinkle in Time. To do an objective review, I like to break a movie down into 6 categories. That is story, emotion, comedy, action, acting, and directing, and assign weights to them depending on the genre. And I do that so I can sort of put aside any of the fanboy bias or any type of bias coming into the movie. And really, with this movie, I didn't read the book that's based off of, so I really shouldn't have that much bias. I did love Selma, directed by Ava DuVernay, who directed this movie, but we'll see how it goes. So, to start off, I'm going to start off with story. And for sci-fi movies, which I'm defining as a sci-fi movie, I like to assign a 30% weight to story. And the story of A Wrinkle in Time, it involves a young girl whose father has been missing for 4 years in some type of space-time accident. Essentially, he's been gone for 4 years, and no one knows if he's dead or alive or if he's coming back. And she needs to find him for some reason. Don't want to spoil it, but pretty much needs to find him for the betterment of the whole universe, to save the whole universe. And the story in Wrinkle Time is really lacking. It's kind of a mess, really, which is sad to hear. But really, what one of the issues is that characters come in and out of nowhere. I don't know their intentions. I don't know their backstory. I don't know anything about them. They just literally pop out of nowhere, and you just got to go with it. I don't know if they're good or they're bad. They just come and go as they please. Just didn't really understand any of the character motives. And one of the other biggest issues to the film is that there's no real clear antagonists in the movie to really go against. And I guess that's part of the moral of the story, is that often your own worst enemy is yourself. And that comes across in the movie because our main character, she deals with self-doubt a lot. She deals with a lot of insecurities. And she sort of has to get over that to become the person she needs to be, to become happy again. And there is one great moment in the movie where they go through different people's lives, and you just see that, see how just your self-doubt and insecurities can really weigh you down, and see how it affects other people, see how that turns into anger, and how it turns into hate, and you can go all Yoda with it, which they kind of do actually. But nonetheless, the story it's a mess. It just kind of scatters all over the place, and don't know characters' intentions. So for that, I have to give the story a 5.5 out of 10. It was just really lacking. All right, moving on, emotion. For sci-fi movies, I like to assign a 20% weight to emotion. And for the most part, I wasn't really feeling it in this movie. There was one instant, and that was maybe 2 instances where I felt some emotion in the film. There was an instance I mentioned before about when they go through different people's lives and how they deal with all their insecurities and their fears. There was another moment between the father who went missing and the daughter. And perhaps I'm a little biased in that because I have a little daughter myself. And so I can just connect with that very well. And they really sold it. They did a good job. But besides those 2 moments, the movie felt really emotionless. So for that, I have to give the movie a 6 out of 10 for emotion. On to comedy. Only assigned a 5% weight to sci-fi movies for comedies. Don't really need a lot of comedy in there. And this movie doesn't really have that much comedy in it. There's a few moments where I chuckled, more so because there was a couple inside jokes to myself that I thought about. Sometimes in movies you laugh about things that other people have no business laughing at. One of those involved Hamilton, but I really enjoyed that. Some characters who were meant to be funny, I just think weren't. They just felt flat. The little boy, her adopted brother, he was funny to begin with, but he just started becoming annoying. Like, just really annoying, I think, because the acting was bad, and I'll get to that later. But for comedy, I would assign a score of 6 out of 10. On to action. For sci-fi movies, I like to assign a 15% weight to action. And I think this movie really clearly defined what I define as action. For me, action can be anything with any type of movement where there is conflict and some type of confrontation between characters or between the setting, something. And this movie is just lacking in all that. It's just a pretty flat movie. There's one scene where they have to kind of outrun a tornado, and that was pretty nice. But other than that, the movie is really motionless. And really, I wish that wasn't the case. So for action, I have to give it a 5% weight. I have to give it a 5% score on action. So acting. For acting for sci-fi movies, I assign it 10% weight. The cast in this movie is pretty impressive. You have a large cast full of many talented people, but no one really shines, and a few people really dimmers. The person that I think did the worst acting job, which is kind of mean to say, is the little boy who played her brother. At first, I thought he was coming off funny, thought he was coming off really well, but then he just started becoming annoying after a while. And I got a lot of Last Airbender vibes coming from some of the acting from him, which sometimes you get that with child actors. I guess they're hit or miss. The other terrible acting I think I saw was from Reese Witherspoon. I think she just went a little bit too over the top. I really wish Ava DuVernay would have just held her back a little bit more, but she was just kind of over top and unbelievable. I just didn't believe she was that character. The good thing about the acting is that the main character, her acting is pretty solid. It's pretty well. Her and Chris Pine, I think, it really works well off each other. And her mother, I feel like, really works well off each other. But they can't. They just do a fine job. They don't do enough to make up for Reese Witherspoon and the little brother. So for acting, I have to give it a 6.5 out of 10. Next up, we have directing. The directing in this movie is probably the most disappointing aspect of the film. First off, the pacing I felt was horrible. Most times when I feel like pacing is horrible in movies is if the movie is moving too slow. That's the opposite for this movie. I feel like this movie is moving way too fast. You didn't get a chance for you just sit down with the characters. It's really choppy, especially in the first half of the movie. I think when it comes to directing, the cinematography wasn't that great. There's really only two shots which I really loved. One involved Chris Pine in a prison. I thought that was really well done. I thought some of the landscapes looked really well. But a lot of the shots on the actual actors themselves, I felt like were bad. There's a lot of close-ups, especially with Oprah. And I think it was to make her feel, bigger than everyone else, but it was just coming off really annoying. I hate really close-up shots. It just feels really cheap. And the score was fine. But really, I'm just, was disappointed in the pacing, disappointing in the cinematography. Really from Ava DuVernay, who's done a terrific job before in the past. So for directing, I give it a 6 out of 10. And that brings us to our weighted average score of a 5.8 out of 10, which honestly is one of the worst scores I've had for a movie. Also, I don't go out of my way to watch movies that I think are going to be horrible. I was looking pretty much forward to this movie. But yeah, 5.8 out of 10. It will be probably ranked one of the lowest movies I see this year. Well, that's it. Tell me what your objective ratings would be. Comment below, and I'm out.